Well, we've got a sort of Friday briefing for you today. I've got Chris Thomas here today. We're down at the Manx Museum. The Isle of Architecture event is wrapping up next door. And it's on that subject I really want to talk to you today because Charles Gard's been on the radio. He's been talking about what isn't going to happen now with his petition that he brought to Tynwald. Maybe you can enlighten us on what happened exactly, because he wanted more protection, didn't he? And you were against it.
I voted with Charles Gard in that motion, but I'm delighted with the outcome, and I hope Charles Gard is delighted. What we've got is we've got a government that said, let's revisit building conservation policy, and listening to Minister Boot and having had discussions with him, we've now got a new emphasis on building conservation in government. We've now got a conservation officer in post. We're talking about grants again. We're talking about getting rid of the backlog on registered buildings. And I think Charles Gard's petition in 2015, the motion that David Cretney helped, but also the Isle of Architecture that you've been involved with filming a lot over the last year, and another body called the Building Conservation Forum has also been very helpful in that process, and that's what I was hoping we could talk about today.
I mean, what is the state of the way that we all perceive that some buildings just seem to be going to rack and ruin and no one seems to be able to stop it? Let's try that one.
Well, what you've got going on in the Manx Museum today is nearly the last event in the Isle of Architecture, and the event is about the creative reuse, sustainable reuse of old buildings. So we started off this morning with a talk about churches and all sorts of uses that have come out of churches, from what they call champing, which is actually camping inside churches, through to well-being centres, through to business centres, all sorts of imaginative reuses. And we've gone on through the day with other types of buildings, old historic buildings that have got imaginative, viable uses.
Okay, but let's deal with the ones that are on everyone's mind. I mean, the Castle Mona, of course, is upmost. There's the golf links. There's the Imperial on the Prom. I mean, there's all sorts that seem to be just, nothing happening.
Yeah. So first of all, an assessment has got to be made by professional officers in government, and a decision taken by politicians about what is significant in our built environment, and on the basis of that decision, money has got to come from somewhere. So it's either got to come from private resources, or to some extent it could come from public resources, and what we need is to creatively reuse our ancient buildings. This symposium today is ending with a panel discussion on the Isle of Architecture, what next. I would think Charles Gard and people like him would be delighted that government is now focusing on the questions: who does what, when, how, with what money, for what purpose. And the buildings you just gave then, the Castle Mona has been acquired, if it has been acquired, relatively cheaply.
In the process, it appears.
But it costs lots of money to do something with it, so we'll have interesting questions to answer about that. Last week we opened the Cultural Centre opposite Tynwald Fairground, and that's an example of creative reuse of a building, because that was the police station that's now a cultural centre alongside our Tynwald Fairground. Another motion that went through Tynwald this Tuesday was about the swearing-in ceremony for the Lieutenant Governor. We've got an abandoned semi-derelict room. We've decided that the 2021 ceremony for the Lieutenant Governor swearing in will be back in Castle Rushen, so that's now a challenge for Manx National Heritage to use their conservation management plan to use their own funds, I think, because the government hasn't made any extra funds available.
Disabled access and all these problems that come up on buildings like this?
And all that sort of thing, and that's what today's symposium has been about, and the other seminars and activities through the year of the Isle of Architecture have been all about trying to focus attention of us on our own buildings and our own history and future. Okay, but I'm sorry Charles Gard's not actually here today, but I'd like to talk to him as well. But I mean, is enough in place now? You got confidence in this new system, and did you have any confidence in what was there before, that there wasn't enough protection? No, I think I'm disappointed, like other people were, that we had a lapse for the last 2 or 3, 4 years. We took away grants. We didn't have a conservation officer in post dedicated to conservation, really. We weren't focusing on it enough. I think we've got the balance back now, and I'm excited, as I hope everybody else will be, about the possibilities of what we can do in the next couple of years. It's not going to be a quick fix, but I think we've got structure in place now and political will now from the Minister of Environment, Food and Agriculture and me to work with officers to try and put together a political framework for a better future.
What powers will this officer have then? Is it he will decide what can happen, or will it be going to committees, or what?
the way it is likely to work, I should think, and we'll be consulting about this, is that we'll let bodies who are involved professionally in this to make recommendations to the state for decisions. But these are questions that now need to be answered: where the money is coming from, the timescale. We'll be engaging with the Society of Architects, with Victorian Society, with the Isle of Man Natural History and Antiquarian Society, with Charles Guard. Yep. Culture Vannin will play a role, I should think. Manx National Heritage will play a role. The sponsors behind the Isle of Architecture. We set up a building conservation forum which has been operating for about 18 months, where professionals from government work with from professionals outside government and the interested bodies like the Victorian Society and Natural History and Antiquarian Society. And I think we've done a lot of good, and I think a process has started that will get somewhere worthwhile, and the Castle Mona and all the other buildings will be better protected because of it. Although,
I mean, playing devil's advocate here, some of them probably have passed their sell, but I'm not saying the ones you listed there, but some things do have to come down, and for business to develop, you don't want to put too many blocks in the way as well, I'm guessing.
Perfect. We've got to have a balance between economic development and sustainable reuse. The questions that need to be asked are: where is the money coming from to make the change? And afterwards, is the new use of these old buildings sustainable?
I appreciate it's way before your time, but things like the Lido coming down, people look back on that and think, how did that happen almost? Do you think that was the sort of thing that should have had more checks and balances in place?
It seems to be, wouldn't it be great now if we had that facility, but at the time the metal and the glass and all those things were so expensive at the time. But
the story seemed to be that it was just locked up and one was left to its own devices. I mean, I don't know how much of that is true, but it seemed to be unloved, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And next March, the professional body in this area, the Institute of Historic Building Conservation, is going to do a special edition about the Isle of Man. And one of the reasons they've chosen to do that special edition is because, for whatever reason, we have still got a lot left here that's worth thinking about how it's going to be creatively reused in a viable way. And also we're interesting because we are our own nation with our own parliament and our own legal system, so why not try things that are different, Isle of Man style, and that's what we're going to do.
Finally, the Isle of Architecture, interesting year. I've enjoyed myself just doing interviews about it. It has brought things to light.
It really has, and thank you so much to everybody who's organised it and also who's participated in it. When you look back, 1985 we had the Year of Sport, and that led to the Island Games, and what a wonderful place, what wonderful opportunities the Isle of Man now provides for our athletes. A couple of years ago we had the Year of Culture, and that's led to a 10-year development plan.
You got any ideas for next year? Got something in plan?
Well, no, but this year we've had the Isle of Architecture. I think it's transformed.
Do you think it should be something every year?
I think so, and that's what we're going to do next year. Next year we're going to do a special year. You never know, it might even be about broadcasting or something like that.
Interesting, won't it? I think I might make that program. Anyway, overall, do you think the state of where you got this now is where you want it? I mean, because people are going to be worried out there. Just wrap it up on that one.
There's been anger along the way, there's been frustration, there might even be casualties along the way, but I now think we're in a better place. I think we've got a better policy for looking back and remembering what we've got here that's wonderful in terms of our built environment, and also working out how to make sure sustainable, creative reuse of old buildings can be achieved.